He didn't hesitate. In a room built to uphold the law, Officer Malik Mitchell twisted his body and drove his boot straight into the chest of a black woman. She flew backward, slammed into the courtroom bench, and collapsed with a dull thud. Papers scattered like dry leaves in autumn. The air turned heavy. No one moved, no one spoke. The judge blinked in disbelief. The gallery sat frozen. And Mitchell, he didn't flinch. To him, this wasn't an overreaction. It was discipline. It was control. The courtroom had long been his domain, a place where he didn't need a gavel to issue judgment. He had power, or so he thought, until the woman stood up. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She looked Mitchell in the eye and said her name calmly, like dropping a match onto a lake of gasoline. "My name is Lena Carter," she said. "I am the newly appointed chief of police for Millstone. And you, Officer Mitchell, just kicked your new commanding officer in open court." Mitchell's face drained of color. His authority evaporated. In a single moment, everything changed, and the entire city was about to feel the aftershock. Courtroom number 3 in the Millstone district didn't have cameras. It didn't need them. Verdicts were decided long before defendants stepped inside. The locals had a nickname for it: the nameless courtroom. If you were young, black, and cuffed, you had an 80% chance of leaving convicted. Nobody kept exact statistics. They didn't have to. The air told the truth. The walls soaked it in. On this particular morning, Aaron Carter stood trial, 17 years old, tall, quiet, face still carrying the softness of youth. Charged with felony theft, a watch. There were no fingerprints, no clear video, just a vague description and a store clerk who'd worked there long enough to sound convincing. Sitting in the back, Officer Malik Mitchell stood like a statue carved from stone, a decorated veteran. 3 administrations, no write-ups. His badge was worn, but his gaze? Ice cold. He didn't need to speak. Just his posture commanded obedience. And when he stared at Aaron, it wasn't suspicion in his eyes. It was contempt. He had seen too many like him, and each time the story ended the same. Mitchell wasn't waiting for justice. He was waiting for the sentence. The defense lawyer didn't fight. She whispered for leniency, not truth. The prosecutor blurred facts and exaggerated school tardies into behavioral incidents. And all the while, Mitchell watched. Hands folded, smile thin. Power didn't need a microphone. It needed silence. And in that courtroom, silence obeyed Malik Mitchell. Then the door opened, not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to draw every eye. A black woman stepped in wearing a long black coat, holding a dark blue folder. She didn't speak. She didn't ask permission. She just walked to the front row, stood still, and waited. In a courtroom where every move required unspoken approval, her presence was a rupture. No badge, no lawyer by her side, no announcement. But something about her posture made people nervous. It wasn't aggression, it was calm. Too calm. The clerk looked up, then down again. The bailiff shifted his weight. Mitchell frowned. He'd seen thousands come through these halls. Most lowered their eyes. She didn't. He walked toward her, slow, intentional, trying to loom, trying to shrink her. "Who do you think you are?" he asked. No response. She stepped slightly aside, keeping her eyes on the judge. No retreat, no fear. Mitchell's neck flushed red. He barked again. "You're not allowed to be here." Still no reply, only silence, the kind that unsettles those used to being obeyed. Then she held up a paper, not high, just enough for the judge to see. She didn't wave it like a flag. She wasn't here to protest. She was here to reveal, and every second that passed made one truth more clear. She wasn't afraid, not of Mitchell, not of the room, not of the system. It was that silence that broke him. Mitchell had lived 2 decades in this system, trained to command respect without needing a word. But now a woman who refused to flinch had exposed the hollowness of that authority. He didn't just feel disrespected, he felt seen. And when fear turns to rage in men like Mitchell, violence becomes inevitable. "You defending a thief," he spat. "You people are society's trash." His voice sliced through the courtroom like a razor. Gasps followed. No one expected it. Not from a man in uniform, not in a courtroom. The judge's mouth moved but produced no sound. The gallery shrank. And Lena Carter, she didn't blink. "You are insulting someone who has not been convicted," she said, voice low but sharp. "And if this is a courtroom, that should still matter." Then she turned calmly. "Aaron Carter is 17. No record, no sentence, and no one has heard his voice." Mitchell boiled. He wasn't used to logic. He was used to compliance. So he did what cowards do when power slips from their grip. He lashed out. A swift, brutal kick, aimed not to kill but to silence. Lena flew back, hit the bench hard, and still she didn't scream. She gathered her papers, stood up, her breath ragged, but her gaze steady. And in that silence, Mitchell saw the beginning of his end. She didn't shout. She didn't flinch. She simply pulled out the document again and faced the judge. "I am Lena Carter," she said. "As of 8 o'clock this morning, I am the appointed chief of police for Millstone." Her voice was even, unwavering. "The documents are on file with the mayor's office. This is a certified emergency copy." A hush gripped the room. Someone whispered, "She's real." A young bailiff took a step back. Mitchell looked stunned, not angry, confused, like someone had pulled the floor out from under him. Lena continued, "And yes," she said, "I have the authority to suspend any officer who abuses power in public." Her words didn't need force. They carried weight. Mitchell didn't speak. He couldn't. Every eye that once obeyed him now turned toward her. And for the first time in his career, Malik Mitchell didn't feel like the law. He felt like a man exposed. It started with one shaky video, filmed from the back of the courtroom. No filters, no edits, just raw footage. Mitchell's voice, "You people are society's trash." The kick, the fall, the silence. Then Lena standing up. Within hours, it was everywhere. On news feeds, on timelines, on late-night talk shows. But what followed was even louder. Old complaints against Mitchell started resurfacing. 14, in fact. Some filed years ago, most buried under internal suspension or resolved. None investigated until now. Lena herself requested every file. She went floor to floor, pulling paper archives, opening drawers no one had touched in a decade. The patterns were damning. Each time Mitchell was praised, complaints also appeared. Each award masked a bruise. Each headline hit a silence. One file revealed a teenage boy once hospitalized with a shattered jaw after resisting arrest. No video, no lawyer, just Mitchell's signature. Lena reopened everyone. No press conferences, no grandstanding, just quiet truth-telling. The city, long numb to routine violence, started to shiver awake. Mitchell wasn't an outlier. He was a symptom. And Lena made sure the city saw the disease for what it was, a system that rewarded numbers, not justice. That week, Mitchell was suspended, not by revenge but by record, and the badge he once wore like armor now felt more like an indictment. Aaron Carter wasn't supposed to speak. He was supposed to disappear into the system, another statistic, another story that never got told. But truth doesn't die that easily. A local store owner stepped forward. He'd kept his security footage longer than policy required, just in case. The video showed what no one had bothered to ask. Aaron didn't steal the watch. He chased the thief, returned it. The old man at the bus stop confirmed it. So did a student who witnessed it all. Aaron never resisted. He just existed. And that had been enough to get him cuffed. The charges were dropped. But Aaron wanted more than silence. He recorded a video. No lights, no script. Just him in a hoodie, staring into the camera. "I'm the one they called a criminal," he said. "The one who was kicked for having a sister who spoke up." His voice didn't shake. It landed like a stone in still water. The video spread fast. People didn't share it because it was dramatic. They shared it because it was true. Aaron's quiet became a megaphone, and suddenly no one could pretend they hadn't seen. Mitchell wasn't a rogue officer. He was protected, promoted, polished, funded. For years, he delivered what the system called results. Arrest quotas, fast clearances, fewer questions, and behind every award was a signature, a state official, a funding supervisor, a quiet policy. Lena traced it all, through grant reports, through internal memos, through programs that paid more when neighborhoods were labeled high risk. Mitchell had been a perfect tool, not because he was just, but because he was efficient. And when Lena exposed that, the real power brokers didn't threaten her. They silenced her. Posts vanished. Press outlets received vague calls to verify content. No names, just pressure. The message was clear. Don't shine too much light. But Lena wasn't here to be polite. She stood before the press and said, if that kick hadn't happened, none of this would have come to light. She wasn't talking about a man anymore. She was talking about the machine that built him. When Malik Mitchell was finally arrested, there were no lights, no press, just a plain car, a worn t-shirt, and the slow walk of a man who had run out of escape routes. He didn't resist, but he didn't speak either, because for the first time, no one was listening. In that moment, Lena didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She just walked out of the precinct holding a 70-page report. Every page was a name, a voice, a truth that had once been erased. She didn't hold a press conference. She posted it online, quietly, for anyone who needed to see their story wasn't forgotten. Her brother sat next to her that night. He didn't say much, just placed his phone on the table, showing her video had passed 2 million views. They finally see us, he said. Lena nodded, and now they'll have to choose whether to look away again. The system hadn't fallen, not yet, but it had been unmasked. And that sometimes is where real justice begins. Not in verdicts or headlines, but in the silence that follows when power is finally questioned. And no one dares look away.